I'd like to thank you for joining us in our study in the book of 1 Corinthians. Today we're going to be starting with the second chapter, so turn in your Bibles to 1 Corinthians, the second chapter, verse number 1. In verse number 1 of 2 Corinthians, Paul really continues the theme of what he's been talking about, and it's how he approached the Corinthians, how he approached them when he first got to Corinth. And this is what it says in verse number 1. And when I came to you, brethren, I did not come with superiority of speech or of wisdom, proclaiming to you the testimony of God. Paul's approach was in keeping with what he wrote. In other words, what he wrote down here is exactly what happened with the Apostle Paul. The verse starts with the word and meaning that it's a continuation from chapter 1. Now, many times I've wondered why in the world did they break up the chapters where they broke them up. And this is really a continuation from chapter 1. And let me just say this, if you haven't listened to the podcast out of the first chapter, go back and listen to them. That'll help you understand the continuity of what the Apostle Paul is saying. His speech was not superior. That's what he says in this verse. He said, I didn't come to you with superiority of speech. The city of Corinth was filled with people that were trying to draw crowds to themselves by the way they taught. They would teach so elegantly and so beautifully. And you know what? I think that even today, even in our churches, one of our problems is that instead of having someone testifying of God, which is what the Apostle Paul is doing, we're looking at the eloquence. We're looking at the way they present their speech. But Paul says, I didn't come to you with superiority. The city of Corinth was known for its teachers of wisdom. It was known for its superiority. The word superiority means to surpass or to be prominent, to be ahead of someone else. One of the things that caused the immorality and all the problems in the church at Corinth was this sense of competition. I am of so-and-so, and I am of so-and-so, and I am of Apollos, and I'm of Paul, and I'm of Peter. And there was such competition, and I believe that's why the Apostle Paul is confronting this problem first of all, before he ever gets into the immorality problem or the way that people were taking communion and drunkenness and things like that. I believe that this was a root problem, a problem that was causing all kinds of things to take place in the church at Corinth. And so the Apostle Paul didn't come with superiority of speech. He didn't come trying to prove to everybody how eloquent he was in his speaking. The Apostle Paul came with just a regular, common, ordinary speech. And then he adds to that, or the superiority of wisdom. You see, the city of Corinth was so proud of all the so-called wisdom in the city. They had wise men and philosophers, and they would sit in their public squares, and they would spout off their wisdom. And Paul said, I didn't come to you like that. I didn't come to you to be part of your culture. I came to you to change your culture, to change your heart, to change your life. And I think sometimes we need to be very aware that we are not here as believers to become part of the culture that we live in. We are here to change the culture. We're here to change the lives. And how does a person then change a life? Paul said, I came proclaiming the testimony of God. Paul didn't come proclaiming his own words. He didn't come having a nice organized message in front of him. Paul came speaking and proclaiming the testimony of God. Now this word testimony, we get our English word martyr from it. It actually means a witness. It means to be a witness or to give proof. How many of you know that when Paul spoke, God showed up? The power of God would fall on people, and they would come under conviction. So when the Apostle Paul writes and he says, I didn't come to you with superiority of speech and of wisdom, but I came testifying or letting God testify of himself. Let me ask you a question. How do you think God testifies of himself? Well, God testifies of himself by signs, wonders, miracles, deep conviction. Have you ever been in a church service, and hopefully you have, where people fall under such conviction that they begin to weep? You see, that's what the Apostle Paul is talking about. He's talking about that God comes and he testifies. How does God testify? He witnesses to, he bears witness to his word. That's why the miracles follow the proclamation of his word. Why? Because God is saying, this is me. This is God. This is somebody that's going to change your life forever. Now let's move on into verse number 2. For I determined to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. This doesn't mean Paul was ignorant, because Paul was highly educated. Paul could have given some of these guys a run for their money when it came to human wisdom. But you know what? Paul didn't come. He didn't come to show people how much he knew. He said, I determined to know nothing. To know nothing. What does this mean? The word determined, it's the Greek word krino, and it means to judge. It means to set something apart. Paul said, you know what? I came to set something apart in the way that I presented myself. And this is what I did. I set myself apart to Jesus Christ. To Jesus Christ. To preach only Jesus Christ and him crucified. The Apostle Paul separated himself from all the teaching, all the wisdom, and all this, let me just use the word garbage that was going on in Corinth, that was causing immorality and causing all kinds of things in that city. He said, I set myself apart. I separated myself, and I separated myself to this. I preach Jesus Christ and him crucified. Wow. What would happen in our churches today if that's what would be the attitude of preachers, evangelists, teachers? Think about that. Thank you for joining us today. God bless you.